So Alex McArthur,
Yep.
thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Big fan of yours, big fan of 97 Floor, so this is going to be
I
great.
appreciate that. We're a big fan of purple, but we're not going to talk about purple until later. I want to talk about you first. You are the Chief Marketing Officer for Purple, and that means that you pretty much launched the company. You started with them in 2015, the end of 2015, but they weren't officially kicked off yet. So give us some history there.
Yeah, so Purple's kind of like a startup 20 years in the making, where our founders had invented a variety of materials and have all kinds of patents on comfort technologies, but they didn't have their own brand. So myself and another consultant joined in at the end of 2015, and we kind of put together some plans. We launched a Kickstarter, and then in January of 2016, we launched Purple as a whole.
And your background, even before Purple, I want to say that someone mentioned that you are really a founder of the internet marketing industry. How do you feel?
That is not true. I think I know where that recommendation came from. I'm not that old. You know, you look at the gray hair, you think I'm probably 20 years older than I am. Definitely not a founder of the internet marketing industry, but I love the industry. I love the network in the industry. I have a lot of friends in the space. So, you know, I love the category, but I'm definitely not the founder.
But you do have 14 years experience.
Sure.
And SEO, you really know SEO. You know how the interwebs work and how to drive traffic. Did you ever think that you would just onboard as a CMO and a brand that was going from zero to ultimately what it ended up being?
Sure. My aspirations were not to be an SEO guy. I got labeled that early on in my career, and luckily was able to move up and have multiple vice president roles for some pretty large companies. And then Purple, starting out as a consultant, then the launch went so well, kind of rolled into a CMO role. So there's some luck there, some good timing, and things have continued to go really well. And we've built a really large team since. And we're making some pretty cool waves in the space.
Absolutely. So you kicked off January 2016, and at the time, it was zero revenue. You pretty much just had this idea, and we'll get into kind of that market, that industry, and the take that you I'm kind of curious about what created this idea. But over hundreds of millions in revenue now in just a few short years.
Yeah, the growth has been faster than expected. We did know that, there are others in this space. Purple was not the first. We hope to do it better, and so far we feel like we have. Our trajectory is faster than anybody in the space. But everybody sleeps, so everybody has sleep products, right? Everybody has mattresses and sheets and all of these things, but the category hadn't been disrupted like many others. There are a couple brands that had started a few years before us and raised a lot of money, and Purple went the route of not raising any money and having to make a couple dollars for every dollar that we spent. So the requirements were a little more stringent, but we went the route of trying to be differentiated. Mm-hmm. So the product itself is very unique and differentiated, and then our marketing angle is also something that we try to be totally unique on. So the mattress industry has typically been very boring, and we went kind of trying to be like your best friend, approachable. We also went for unexpected. So those are two kind of keywords that were important for us to stand out and be memorable. In a space where, there's 16 billion in mattresses sold per year, and to stand out wasn't that hard early on because the brands were so boring. But now it's getting a little more competitive.
So going into, that first year, working with the Harmon brothers on that first video, the egg test,
Yep.
which I think we all have seen hundreds of times, plus all the follow-up videos.
Can't escape it.
Yeah, and it's at over 1 billion views now. We're not quite sure how many.
So our total video views across all of our channels and all of our videos, we have dozens of videos now. But the Harmon brother video, the raw egg test, really got us started. Those 1 billion views are across all of our videos, not just the...
So I was looking at the raw egg test, or the egg test, and on YouTube alone for that video, it's 162 million.
It's awesome. That's the premiere piece. That's the one we're known for.
Right. Right, and I look forward to any follow-up ones. I already know what the product is, but it's basically an entertainment piece now. Now, going into that, tell me a little bit about the ideation, the approach, but also, okay, we know we want to be a disruptor, but how do you make people laugh without it being like just bad humor?
Yeah, I mean, and we've made mistakes, so don't get me wrong. Not everything we've put out has
Good,
been
I want to
perfect.
talk about those
We've
mistakes.
made lots of mistakes. And we don't want to be a humor brand, although we're kind of perceived as that. We don't want to be pigeonholed into saying everything Purple puts out is going to be humorous, but to this point, almost everything has been. Mm-hmm. So, you know, our angle is because we have a unique product, we can do demonstrations that amplify that difference between how all these memory foam mattresses work. You know, the comparison that we like to give a lot is that a typical memory foam mattress turns into like a sweat canoe. Like within a year, you can see where you and your significant other or whoever sleeps. You can see it visually in the mattress. And with Purple, it bounces back. So we love to do a lot of demonstration. And as we experiment with demonstrations, we always come up with kind of ridiculous ideas or characters. That's been an important thing for us, is to use these unique characters that people seem to remember more than they remember the average person.
Mm. So in terms of, there's a lot of technology behind this. I know that Tony and Terry Pierce, they have, I mean, they started talking about this in the 1990s. Yeah. And they have all those patents. Do you feel like because you can be so technology heavy, like you can have fun with it because you have the backing of just really solid science and tech?
Yeah, it's an advantage. We claim ourselves to be a comfort tech company. So it does provide that differentiation. So when investors or bankers or all these industry analysts have come and looked at Purple, they're always intrigued that we kind of have this protective moat and that our marketing strategy is very different and the product itself is very different. So you know, a lot of people see it as having more potential than the typical company in the space.
So right out of the gate, you have this major success with this video. Did you anticipate any of that?
We knew it would go well. The Harmon brothers, everything that they touch does really well. So this is an endorsement for them as well.
Yes.
They're fantastic. From there, some companies have let those videos that receive that kind of attention be their only thing, and then they fade. And we wanted to build off of that. So we invested in our own internal team, started to build up resources, you know, set up all the things that you need to do in a business, from referral program to affiliate programs and all these different systems. And then we continued to have win after win, and since then it's just built up to a level that we did not see happening in 2 years.
So was there any pressure after that initial win?
There is now.
Let's talk about the pressure, yeah.
Yeah, at the time it was all excitement. Now we're a public company, so the dynamic changes.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, there's so many other stakeholders and decision makers within that. Now, in terms of the myth, so I've interviewed the Harmon brothers, and what we talked about was this myth of viral. People thinking it's just something, and especially to a CMO, like just make something viral. But the myth is that that organic reach very rarely ever happens. So let's talk a little bit about that.
And we were one of their first videos that didn't necessarily go viral in the way that people used to perceive virality. A lot of their first ones, Poopery, Squatty Potty, a lot of poop-related products, sorry. Most of those did go viral. With Purple, ours, we found a different kind of sequence that worked. We found really quickly, if we spend a certain amount of dollars on a certain channel or with these certain optimization techniques, that we were going to get this much in return. So we knew that as a piece, like you might want to call it a YouTube infomercial, or there's different terms that people are using now, that when we seeded dollars, we saw the dollars return. So it was more like a scalable advertising asset rather than going for a viral video. And especially with the price of these types of videos, the cost to produce them and put them all together, it's almost more valuable to know if I put dollars to it, it's going to have this return, and not that it has this 3-month window of virality. So I definitely prefer the angle of building it for a lasting ability or a scaling
That's super smart. Now, in terms of the team that you have put together and had to build with, I mean, with growth and unprecedented growth comes the need to hire really fast, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You know, people are the best part and sometimes the worst part of a business,
Absolutely.
right? And luckily, Purple has a really good team, and most of that's come from other relationships. You know, we've talked about other people that we mutually know that we brought onto Purple, and the team is what's made it work. You know, that differentiation of the marketing, differentiation of the product, and then a team that just, the whole team is very passionate about what they're doing. They're excited. You know, Purple has great relationships with Google and Facebook and all these companies that in the past when I was at certain companies I'd say the same thing, but here it's like at a different level where they're giving us assets or they're creating videos for us, or you know, giving us access to every alpha and beta program that they do. So the team's excited to be a part of all this great momentum, so we're able to get kind of the best talent in the area. And so that's something that I hope we can keep the momentum so we can keep the great team.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of finding people, I mean, I think a lot would gravitate towards you because what you are doing, right? But how do you identify the person who is a good fit for a team? Is it a characteristic or is it a skill set?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a guiding principle that you follow when you're hiring people?
I don't know if this is the answer that maybe people would expect, but for me, like, the number one thing is, do I want to work with that person, right? So at some companies I've gone for the angle of I want the best possible talent in this position. And with Purple we have a personality, and we want that personality to be reflected in everything that we do. So I look for personality first. Are they going to be somebody that's fun, that can reflect our brand? Even if they do something technical, sometimes that has an implication on, you know, what data they decide to extrapolate from the information that we have impacts how we advertise. So we look for personality, skill set. Almost everybody we've hired, I either knew or one of our leaders knew. So we look for that, you know, that recommendation from people that have worked with them in the past. So kind of adding all those things up, the right personality, obviously they have to have the skill set. And we like people that take risks too. And that's something I haven't been able to do at other companies. Purple's very welcome to taking risks. And so, you know, to win in a really loud space. And I know, like, before I got involved in mattresses or sleep products, I had no idea how competitive this industry was. And so you have to go for the big wins. So when you go for big wins, it means you have lots of failures. And so we have videos that I hope no one ever sees. We have other content that I hope nobody ever sees because we ran tests or it just didn't turn out the way that we wanted. And so we try things and we experiment. And so I look for that in the personality of the person that we hire as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. So at 97th Floor, when we hire, we look more for, is this person coachable? I mean, it is the personality focus because skills can be trained. You can train on the skills, but obviously work ethic. But I think a lot of people can say one thing in an interview and then ultimately prove
I think
otherwise.
We all do. We all say the other thing.
Absolutely. Best fit. Yeah, we're going to be like, oh, I'm going to tell you what I think you want to hear. But if you're identifying the core of what someone is, are they positive? Are their answers on, you know, more reflective of troubleshooting versus like, I don't know that, and then feeling shut down. Yep. We find that we end up attracting the best and retaining the best. Now, in terms of culture for Purple, like this, I imagine by getting people that you genuinely like to work with, that's a plus, but how do you retain them and keep them at Purple in a way of like lifestyle and...
Yeah, so we have areas to improve there, but we've also done some things right. So some areas to improve, you know, because we're only 2 years old and we grew so fast, like we're barely just getting 401k and benefits and all these things that a lot of companies had. The reason people have stayed is because of that momentum, despite not having the obvious things that most companies have. So because of that momentum, because of the excitement, because of having huge partners come in every day and want to do interesting things with us, that's what's kept people, and also that personality and that personal connection. I don't want to sound like Michael Scott, but we are all kind of friends, and we maybe I am the Michael Scott where I think they're my friends and they're not really, but no, anyway.
Does Michael Scott ever know he's the Michael Scott?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so
I don't think
you
so.
might be the Michael Scott.
Be.
Yeah,
that hurts.
Just just say own it, but
yeah.
It would hurt.
But no, I think it's the the unity of doing something really unique together. I mean, Utah hasn't had many companies grow this fast, and so the team, a lot of the team members, the minute it took off, were getting recruited like crazy. And multiple people on the team have passed on offers that were 3x what they're making because they want to be a part of the journey.
Yeah, it's that ground level that you get to see something that ultimately will become the next. I mean, Amazon started like really small. I mean, we think of Google, it started out of a garage. I mean, there's always... Sure. You're hoping to be part of that next iteration. So
yeah. I'm not claiming we'll be any of those companies.
No pressure, but I'm expecting to see the next Google campus here in Utah. Yeah. Now, let's talk more about kind of your leadership style, your approach to navigating, to having, hard conversations with your team, with your board members, with your upper management. Like, how do you lead?
So that's changed for me a lot over the years. I used to just try to be the nice guy, and that was probably one of my weaknesses for a long time. And now I'm not mean, but I'm way more direct. And because we have good relationships with people on the team and we look for those right personalities, I think that directness works. But also I am a big believer in having the right people on the bus. So again, I believe in finding those right connections, finding word of mouth recommendations for people that we hire. But if we find out somebody's not a fit, you normally know pretty quickly. So I'm not afraid to make quick changes. And I know that sounds brutal, but it's necessary for the team to keep having the speed and momentum that we've had. So if it's not a right fit, I'm not afraid to make a change quickly. And I'm not afraid to have direct conversations, but overall, I want the right people on the bus, and I want them to be empowered to fail quickly. And I know these are all popular terms that everybody says, but for me at Purple, this is the first time I've been able to live some of those one-liners that we all say: fail fast, all those trendy lines. The founders have really enabled us to do that. We have a large marketing budget, and so I hire somebody, they're over a specific tactic or principle of marketing, and when we interview them after that period, there actually isn't that much training. We get to know Purple, they get to know the other departments, and then we trust them based off their skill set to run with what they do. And if they make mistakes, we course correct. And so it's giving people a lot of autonomy. The key is having the right people and giving them the freedom to do that.
Great people on the bus in the right seats. It's good to great companies. That's how they're.
It's all from a book. I didn't come up with this. I just believe in it for the first time. I've been practicing.
It's not meant to be overly complicated. Yeah. Now let's talk about that autonomy. Comes with a need to probably track and measure, right? And I know that you know how to track. Any background in SEO, you know that you can't just talk about, oh, we just got some impressions, but how do you track and measure against those things to ultimately know this isn't working out? I mean, obviously you get a feel for things, but what are the other metrics that you look at? So
as exciting as marketing is, and we've stayed in this career for a long time because we love it and it's fun and it changes quickly, attribution is the plague of marketing. I mean, it's difficult to track of all the things that you do, what actually brought back the sales or the customers. For me, there's certain things that we can track 100%, and there's things that we can't. A lot of offline tactics are very difficult to track. But I can track the effort of the team. I can track the creativity. I can kind of measure that with my own judgment. We can track the level of campaigns, the amount of campaigns that people are trying and experimenting with. So we do a ton of experimentation. I've never been in a place that ran more variations of ads, and so that's important to me. That's something that I measure, and then the quality of the work and the conversion of the campaigns that people are putting out there. So I can't walk through that whole funnel and say most times that this person did better with their campaigns than this person, but I can measure the effort and the amount of testing and things like that. So those are core and important things that we watch.
I think that's another big myth that people have, especially if you've had a successful campaign like the the videos that you've done is that there's a whole archive. Kind of want to go back to these ones that you hope never see the light of day.
Yep.
Are those logged somewhere publicly?
Most of them are on our YouTube channel, but they're not public. So you might be able to find some.
Oh, okay. So that's all. I
can't believe I just shared that.
But I do think that's a myth that when it comes to, we hear, I guess what you were saying about like fail fast, we can say it, but to truly implement it, I mean, you're spending money every time that you test something and it fails, like that that's dollars lost. So I think that's where people maybe pull back on the reins of testing in terms of, well, maybe let's just not test as much. What are your thoughts around that?
I think it does depend on the industry somewhat. I mean, in the mattress world, we've really been enabled to do this because, 5 years ago, nobody bought mattresses online, and now at minimum 20 to 25% of the U.S. does.
I showed you a photo from my long runs.
Great, yeah.
It's like every other development I run through. It's purple box.
Yeah, and I'm still bitter that it was upside down. The logo wasn't right, so
I was like, maybe I just need to turn that up.
Yeah, we need to educate the UPS guys, right? I totally spaced on the question.
Oh, so I was talking about the myth of the testing and that, holding back on that.
Yeah. So in this industry, it works because, there's great margins and everybody sleeps, so you can do very broad campaigns. In other categories I've been in, those testing dollars do shrink some. So luckily we're in the right industry that has the right, margins and things that we can, freedoms that we have. But if you're not testing, somebody's going to beat you. If you're not trying to test harder than somebody else, you're already losing. The campaign that worked for you either will fade due to how many people have seen it or lack of interest, or there's so many reasons that a campaign starts to depreciate. And every company and every ad campaign has a different duration. But in our world where we advertise pretty aggressively, if the minute something goes live, we're not working on something else, we're in trouble. I'm just a huge advocate for testing, and I'm not seeing any evidence that doing more testing than somebody else doesn't provide us more value and more return.
Right. And I think it's key when you're talking about the pipeline. Like if you go live with somebody, you don't get to hang out for a couple months.
I want to, but
right.
You can't.
You're probably so tired.
I am
what it takes to launch something.
Yeah.
I understand that. Now, in terms of being a disruptor, I think ideally most startups would like to be a disruptor, and they maybe think they've identified the opportunity. For Purple, was it clear how you could be a disruptor, or was it okay, we're jumping in, we have this data to support this, but is it enough?
So I'd love for us to, sometimes we get too much credit for being a disruptor because, again, we weren't the first to come up with the bed-in-the-box concept, but I do think we did it quite a bit differently. So we knew some things that were already working for other companies, but we wanted to do a few things different, and that was in our messaging and kind of from the marketing angle. But the whole category itself, there were a few people that we could watch and see what was working for them. So we learned from them, but now we have the faster trajectory, so that's great. So you can't say we were first. We weren't the first disruptor, but we're trying to disrupt the disruptors.
Right, but what you've done is I would coin you as the disruptor. And I was about ready to ask you, well, what about all the copycats that have followed you? When maybe they preceded you.
Yeah, some did. We've had some that are actually using our messaging word for word because of the amount of testing that we do. We're finding, phrases and things that work better than what the others were doing that had gone to traditional old school agencies. They spend a lot of money on these big design packages, and then if it doesn't work, you're in trouble, whereas we do lots of quick iterations. We're not the first, but I still do see us as a disruptor.
Love it. So for someone starting out in their career, digital marketing, online, working for a brand, what advice would you give them in order to either hone their craft fast or be super coachable? Maybe both.
For honing the craft, it's funny, but most of my team doesn't know this, some of them do, but I still run a lot of my own little sites just so I can tinker and experiment, and people laugh when they hear that I'm making dollars a week from some little site, but for me it's interesting and I get to experiment. So that's one thing. I'd say find a way to dive in deep to what you're doing, even outside of work. A lot of companies aren't comfortable with people doing contract work, and I'm a huge believer in that because they're going to gain skills and experiment with other tactics that maybe we aren't thinking about at our company. So hopefully, somebody that's trying to learn, their boss can be flexible and let them try other things, maybe consult on a project or two. Other things that come to mind, you can't read enough. There's so many great marketing and business books out there. What else? I love, I've grown to be much more of a risk taker from Purple, and so I'd advocate that. Marketers don't, a CMO especially, or a VP of marketing, most of them don't last more than 2 years. So if you're not trying new things, you can also get fired for a big failure, but I think most people are seeing that if you try more things, you're going to find those things that stick and that help you win. So if your company doesn't have support for you to try things, you're not going to last anyway. So I don't know. Hopefully those are helpful. And
so in terms of just self-education for you, you read a lot, but how do you read as much as you do?
I'm not a traditional reader. I'm one of the people that skims through a lot of things, and if I'm not finding the interest, I move on to something else fast. So I used to hate skipping to the end of books. Now I look at chapters and skip to those. There's so many books that have the fluff chapters,
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll go right to the sections that interest me. I'm still an old school. I have a reader going with Feedly where I have all my blogs and everything in there, and but no, it's finding the right pieces of content. So now that our team's grown, everybody's sharing. We have an Instagram feed where we all share ads that we love. We do that every day. There's probably 10 or 15 that somebody's posted on there from our team, and so that's something that we love to compare and hey, this could stand out, or so just sharing ideas, having an open team where you can discuss, hey, let's try this thing that's way out there, rather than just keeping the same line that we have. So that's a way to come across new ideas.
Yeah. Now, you talked about your team. You talked about other people that you've worked with. You are known for having a tribe. You have a network that is solid. People you.
I didn't know that. I tried to do that. I didn't know I was known for that.
I
put effort into that.
A lot of times when I'm talking about Alex, I'm always talking about Alex.
Oh, sweet.
It's I know also the people who you have worked with, and you have a solid tribe for not just a couple years that you work together, but it is you have history.
That's cool. That to me, this is one of the biggest compliments I've ever had, because I put effort into that. I try to have lunch with a different person every day, and I think over time, I'm 41 now. I've been doing that for a long time, and maybe it's starting to pay off now. All those $10, $20 lunches, But no, I love to get to know people. Everybody has different ideas. I like people. No matter how grumpy I am, I still rather be with somebody.
You seem so grumpy. So how?
I can be very grumpy. But no, I value people, and some of it, to be honest, if I'm giving you the real Alex reason why I started out doing that, at a young age, I've grown more confident. I was afraid of, because I was in marketing, and marketing turnover so high, it was, to be honest, it was to have security and know that, hey, if I lost this job, I have these friends, I could go there. And now it's turned into, I'm getting to know people that I could potentially hire, I'm learning new techniques. But early on, it was probably fear-driven. And I didn't expect to be that open, but that's the truth.
But that was my next question, was how has it fed not only your progression, but what you need to do now, which makes sense. You need to always be hiring people. And I know historically, it seems like such an effort to try to reach out to people and to keep connecting with them.
Yeah.
We take it for granted that we're connected by social media. And
it is an effort, and it's hard because there's all these different platforms we all use, and I'm more responsive on some than others, but I don't know, you just have to care enough to do it, right? And a lot of people that are successful with keeping a routine or doing things for the long term have a great process. I'm not really a process guy, so I do it kind of in streaks where I might ignore it for a couple days, and then one morning or evening I'll go schedule out a bunch of lunches or networking events. And so I'm kind of I wish I could say I was more of a creature of habit, but I'm kind of I dive in, then I ignore it for a couple days, then I dive in.
But it still works.
Still works. Yeah.
Are these people that you find are also really great collaborators, even if they're not at Purple? Like, you're able to maybe, I imagine, be beneficial to talk to someone who's like not in the mix of it, to say first impression. Oh
yeah, for sure. And you meet some very unique people sometimes, and but you definitely get new ideas. I mean, in the mattress space, there's about 200-ish bed-in-the-box companies that are selling mattresses online, and they're all popping up by the day. And most of them do almost the same things. They offer the same warranty, the same discounts, everything's copycat. So in those types of meetings, you can potentially come up with something that's totally off the wall. That as I imagine that in my industry, that's something that has been used in another industry for 15 years, but because everybody's copycatting in this space, I believe those connections and discussions can lead to maybe we can do something ahead of the curve and do something different.
So in terms of kind of the day-to-day, what keeps you up at night when it comes to what you have to accomplish in a year?
I like to win, and I don't like to do anything without the potential of winning. So early on in my career, I had some turnover where I gave up on companies quickly because these guys are never going to win. They're not going to take the right chances. But now, I'm on, Purple has the potential to be the leader in sleep and comfort related products. And so that keeps me up at night because I know somebody else is thinking about the same things. So I want to think about them first or try something else first. And so moving quick requires a lot of thought, and it requires a lot of planning. And so there's never enough time to try all the things I'd like to try. So that keeps me up all the time.
Sounds exciting, though.
It's fun, but it's exhausting.
Yeah. Do you get some healthy vacation time in there? Do you schedule time?
We have what we need, but hopefully this summer I just disappear for a little while.
I was going to say, I feel like you have to organize around just shutting off in order to refuel on the creative side of things.
Yeah, sometimes.
Otherwise, it's just a point of diminished returns.
Yeah.
But now, in terms of, we have some pretty amazing brands here in Utah. What are your thoughts on us and being that next tech hub and the Silicon Slopes?
It's headed that way. More and more people are moving here, especially from California. More and more developers are moving here. There's so many great companies. Pluralsight's fantastic. Vivint's been around. Domo is growing rapidly. But I actually really love those companies. Are great, but the entrepreneur group here in Utah is just amazing. There's so many great startups that are popping up. So the energy is here. I think more people will continue to come here. I don't see any negatives to it right now, to being a part of Silicon Slopes. There's the cost of living's great. There's great talent. Mm-hmm. There's more and more people to collaborate with as more of these companies have started up. The interesting thing about the Utah culture is most people have a side hustle. It's just kind of in the DNA of the people here.
That's true.
I think there's certain reasons for that, but I won't go into those details. But everybody has, some side interest, or they want to eventually do their own thing, or they have these 5 to 10 ideas they'd like to pursue one day. And so everybody's thinking about that. And I think there's a different energy here. I've lived all over the country, from North Carolina, Tennessee, California, Maryland, moved around a lot. And there's a different vibe in the business world here.
Now, you went to BYU.
Mm-hmm.
What made you think, I want to make Utah my home base?
I don't have a really revolutionary answer for that, but I studied kind of half computer science, half comms before there were digital marketing degrees. But I knew that's what I wanted to do, so that was the good hybrid for me. And I got married, never left. My wife's parents retired here. My mom retired here. So it's more of a family thing that kept me here, but now I wouldn't leave because of the business world and the connections that I have here.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before, and I never thought I would call Utah a home base. I really thought like I would stay back east or even overseas, but if you're outdoorsy, you get the mountains, you get the backdrop, and more we're becoming that great hub where you have access to amazing thought leaders like yourself, like Vivint, like all the startups. We work with a ton of startups too.
Yeah. And I was going to go to the same place. Outside of my own personal story, the outdoors here are fantastic. I've grown to love the outdoors much more than I did when I was younger, so I try to spend a lot of time outdoors.
So what's next for Alex McArthur? I mean, a vacation, obviously,
sure.
But like
we are going to Hawaii in July. I'm pretty excited about that, but that's months away.
Okay.
That's a long time.
So you could do a lot in the next...
I could be pretty fried before then.
I'm thinking more like 5-10 years. Like, what is the next thing?
You know, Purple still has a lot to do. I'm really excited for what we have planned at Purple. We are perceived as a sleep company right now. We view ourselves as becoming a comfort company. We have lots of patents that nobody's remotely familiar with yet on all kinds of comfort products we could release in the future. So that's exciting. Way down the road in my personal career, just like the example I shared about everybody having these couple ideas, I have some of my own ideas that I'd like to start in the future. So that's down the road. But for now, I'm all in on Purple and building that team and seeing how far we can go.
Love it. Now, one question that I like to ask everyone is, what is your legacy? What do you hope to be remembered for?
I don't know if this is too sappy or not, but like...
We enjoy sappy.
I had some jobs that I really loved, and I had a lot of jobs that I hated. And when I had jobs that I hated, I was just miserable. I want to be known for creating environments where people love where they work. It's more than making money, more than any of those other things. I want people to enjoy. We spend more time at work in most cases than we do with our families, which is kind of disgusting. But if that has to be the case in the way that this U.S. culture works, hopefully we can change that. 97th Floor is ahead of the curve. You guys do things a little differently, so kudos to you guys. I'd like to help create some of those unique cultures in the future as well. And I want to create a culture at Purple with my team of a place that people love the people they work with and they love the work they're doing. And for me, it's that simple. That's what I want to be remembered for.
That's awesome. And I do think that it's the next wave of what brands kind of take on as well. It's that employee engagement. It's that quality culture where people are like, no, I just want to be here because I like being here. Yep. It's not the 9 to 5. It's the whatever it takes to get the job done. And
I'm with you.
Like the care that, is infused. And you've done that really well. Obviously, if you can build a tribe of people who will leave you rave reviews and just speak your praises, I see you doing that really well with Purple. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today and go back and forth on this. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. This is great.